Now, of course, Minister Bheki Cele must be held accountable for crimes committed with police guns smuggled to gangsters. This is the view of Gun-Free South Africa, blaming the SAPS for failing to secure its firearms.
Well, it's now lodging a class action suit with families of those murdered with smuggled weapons. Gun-Free South Africa says both Cele and the service must pay for damages. The organization's director, Adele Kirsten, joins us via Zoom for more details. Adele, thank you so much for your time and a very good morning to you. Let's talk a little bit about this, because this comes at the back of this confession that came out of one such Christian Prinsloo, as well as his counterpart, David Naidu, which had actually confessed to selling guns to members of the gang. And of course, subsequent to that, we saw how many murders came as a result of those guns that had made their ways through the gangs. Now, you're saying that you're taking the class action right square to the minister's doorstep. Just explain to us exactly behind this class action suit.
Good morning, Faith, and hello to your viewers. There's sufficient evidence, well, we know the evidence is there in the Prinsloo matter, that he confessed to stealing over 2,000 guns, selling them to gang leaders in the Western Cape. And we saw then a dramatic increase in gun-related deaths in the province over this period from about, 2010 to 2015. There's clear evidence in police records and ballistics that show that these very same guns were responsible for the death of 187 children across Cape Flats communities.
Adele, you've given that period 2010 to 2015, and what if then the minister responds to you to say that in that period, or at least in the period of his leadership of the Ministry of Police, that such incidents have come down and that he actually cannot be held responsible, for those deaths and those guns being smuggled to gangs in that period?
Morena, it's clear that the application is against the Ministry of Police. So Minister Bheki Cele holds that position now, but it's the ministry. And it's something that happened under a previous minister's watch. But as we know, any minister has to take responsibility for the entire ministry. So it's really about the ministry and it's about the system. So it's not about an individual. There is clear evidence that there are serious systemic failures in the management of weapons and ammunition in SAPS. And that's what we also want to highlight and correct. But the key focus of the class action is to ensure that these families who have suffered loss get some financial damages.
Yeah. Has there been, in terms of the response from the ministry in itself, have they responded to this and to the intention of this class action? What has been said so far? Because, look, we cannot avoid, when it comes to the confession of one such a Christian Prinsloo, we all got to witness it, as well as the involvement of David Naidu's counterpart. We all know about the story, about the sale of guns, admittedly so, from police quarters to gang members. So that's just a given. But have they said anything in response to that? And even maybe Adele, to that, have they since then met with the families who've been affected by the sale of these guns, by the guns utilized by these gang members, just to offer condolences or some sort of support?
So, Faith, this is the first step. We are required by law to give notice to the minister, the National Police Commissioner, and in fact all 9 provincial commissioners, that we intend to apply to the Western Cape High Court to certify or to apply for certification of the class action. So we are required to give 60 days notice. That notice was sent round about the 22nd of February. We have received an acknowledgement from SAPS Legal Services that they have received our notice. And that's all we know. We obviously aren't privy to any internal discussions that have happened, but we will be ready towards the end of April to then apply for our class action to proceed. And of course, the court then has to determine whether we, have a case where a trial date can be set. And of course, given the information we have, we are confident that we do have sufficient evidence to proceed to court.
In that time where we wait to go to court, Adele, guns that should not be on the streets and in the hands of gangsters are there. Lives are being lost daily. So while we still wait for the class action lawsuit to take place and for perhaps, hopefully, the ministry to take accountability, what becomes the solution? What is Gun Free SA then trying to tell the minister right now? That how do you solve this problem? And are you willing then to even work with the ministry in terms of finding tangible and actually proper practical solutions to ensuring that these guns are taken off the streets?
Yeah, we're absolutely willing to continue to work with the ministry. We have always supported things like firearms amnesties. We have made submissions on the Firearms Control Amendment Bill. We have made submissions on, in fact, weapons and ammunition control. There are significant developments across the globe over the last 10 years about how to improve what's called stockpile management. We have submitted documents. We are willing to continue working with the ministry to strengthen the entire system. At the same time, and this has been a thread of Gun Free South Africa's work, is that we are clear that SAPS has to be accountable for how it manages its weapons. And in the class action, and why we proceeding with this, is that it failed. So we hold this, I guess, interesting relationship with the ministry, is that where there are opportunities to work together, we will. And we have called over the last several weeks for dedicated specialist firearms units to be set, to be established as soon as possible, and for the bill to come to Parliament. Those are two big, very practical, doable things that SAPS can do, that the police minister can do, and Gun Free South Africa and our alliance partners will be behind that all the way.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. Adele, much appreciated for your time this morning. Gun Free SA's National Director Adele Kirsten regarding that class action suit.